How can a country produce billions in oil and still have widespread poverty? Angola is one of Africa's largest oil exporters. Its offshore fields generate enormous revenue. Yet for many citizens, daily life remains a struggle. This is the Angolan paradox: resource wealth at the top, hardship on the ground. To understand why, you have to go back to independence and a war that lasted a generation. Angola gained independence from Portugal in 1975, but independence did not bring peace. Rival liberation movements turned against each other. A civil war began almost immediately. Foreign powers backed different sides. Weapons and funding flowed in. The country became a Cold War battlefield, and civilians paid the price through instability and collapse of services. The conflict lasted 27 years until 2002. Infrastructure broke down. Transport networks failed. Agriculture declined sharply. Large areas became economically disconnected. But one sector kept operating: oil. Offshore production continued even while the country burned inland. That detail changed everything. Oil fields were offshore and heavily protected. They were easier to defend than farms or cities. So while much of the economy collapsed, oil exports continued. Revenue flowed to the state. This meant the government could finance war and administration without relying on broad taxation. That reduces accountability. Economists call this a risk factor in resource states. When the war ended in 2002, Angola entered a reconstruction boom. Oil prices were rising globally. Production expanded. GDP growth surged for several years. New buildings rose. Major projects launched. But growth was uneven. Oil is capital-intensive, not labor-intensive. It generates revenue, but not mass employment. So national income rose faster than household income. Investigations over the years uncovered large corruption and mismanagement cases involving state funds and/or revenues. Billions were alleged to have been diverted or poorly tracked. When institutions are weak, large resource flows can concentrate power instead of distributing opportunity. This widens inequality, not because resources are bad, but because governance determines outcomes. There's a term for this pattern: the resource curse. Countries rich in natural resources sometimes grow more slowly and less equally than diversified economies. Why? Because governments rely on resource exports. Other industries are neglected. Currency pressures hurt manufacturing. Accountability weakens. Resources create revenue. They don't automatically build systems, but the story isn't one-sided. Angola has made reforms in transparency and financial oversight in recent years. There have been anti-corruption prosecutions. Economic diversification efforts are increasing. Progress is uneven, but movement exists. The country is not frozen in its past. Angola's experience teaches a hard truth: natural wealth is not the same as public wealth. Oil can fund development or distort it. The difference is institutions, planning, and accountability. Resources are opportunity, not destiny. Rich country, poor citizens. Why? Because wealth underground is only step one. What matters most is what happens above ground.